And up next now, Ashton and I will talk about the first season of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. Fun fact, this is actually the second time we've attempted this because, yeah, we tried to do this a week ago on Ashton's podcast, but there were just numerous technical difficulties, and we were just like, you know what? Yeah, better we just try it again. But in this case, here on this show, right? So, yeah, let me just, this is literally a take two of that review, right? So yeah, I would just pretty much just try to remember what it is you asked me. But I will more or less leave the floor mostly to you so you could share your thoughts in the show because you were the one who wanted to talk about it in the first place, right?
Correct, correct. Well, I have a affinity for this type of culture, the kaiju culture, right? And I am a big fan of the modern day Godzilla movies. I mean, let's be honest, the old ones is not that great, but I mean, like, it's entertainment. But I think when we talk about like, if you're a fan of Godzilla, we talking about modern day stuff. Like, did you like the Broderick stuff? Did you like what did you like? So I even like the Broderick stuff, to be honest, even though people don't like that. I mean, it was a goofy looking Godzilla, but still I enjoyed it. Right. So far less for this new modern Godzilla that they did. I really enjoy it. I all the what do you call it? All the kaiju stuff, all the Monster Island, the uh the King Kong stuff, all of that
Yeah.
culture, love it, love it. Even Pacific Rim, or I like to call it Pacific Rim Job.
Oh God, don't be insulting one of my favorite Del Toro films like ever, man. Don't do that.
But that, like I said, that's kaiju stuff too, right? So I mean, it's all enjoyable. It's fun times, right? So I consider that like DC versus Marvel, like Godzilla is Marvel and DC is like Pacific Rim. That's how people can make that like little differentiation, right? But yeah, so here we go with Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, bro. This is such a great show that I really can't understand for the life of me why not a lot more people are talking about it. Because this gives us the perspective of the humans that are affected by all these kaiju attacks and have to deal with all these monster um, extinction level events happening to them, you know? And that is, I like the formation of the monarch itself, and this show really taps into the human element and how people are affected by the normal day to day of what is a kaiju, right? Because at the end of the day, the kaiju is not intentionally trying to kill people, it's just living its life, right? It's interesting just to see everything from the perspective of the human, right? And the human element of the show. I really like that. And what did you feel when you watched the show, though? Because I know you are a lukewarm fan when it comes to the kaiju stuff.
All right. Well, for me, it's not so much that I'm lukewarm towards it. Like I do respect and admire the law of it. I do like this idea of like these it's not so much ancient creatures, but they're um how to say scientifically or man-made in a sense, or they just come from like a different dimension. So I kind of like that whole strange world, that was set up with the first Godzilla, and you could argue with the first King Kong movie, right? And I do like these modern incarnations of it. I do like that we're taking things a little bit more seriously compared to what we got with the '98 Godzilla film, which I was not a fan of at all. Um, but I really do enjoy this MonsterVerse thing here. Even though I felt like Godzilla could have started things off a lot stronger, a lot strongly, I should say. It was what it was, right? But for me, I felt it got considerably better over the past 10 years. Closing right now, I would say with Godzilla vs Kong, which yeah, was one of my favorite guilty pleasure films of I believe it was 2021. I think it came out right. But I had to see it in my house, because cinemas were shut down. So it's like, well, it was like that. It was either 2020 or 2021. I can't remember, right? But yeah, I was surprised about this show here, right? Monarch, and the fact that we're gonna emphasize a lot more on the humans, right? And what I would just say, just simply, is that this show really gives you a reason to care about the humans, right? Because you know that's the excuse when it comes to these these MonsterVerse films. Nobody come to see the humans. We just come to see kaiju fight. That's the excuse, right? But this one's like, no, these humans really should care about because they're trying to prevent all that shit from happening, and they're trying to live their own lives too. And they're trying to understand what's going on, you know. And I like how it all bleeds into what we've seen before, whether it's the first Godzilla or King Kong Skull Island and stuff like that. I really like how they do that very well. So yeah, I think that this show works very well, man. And I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think that I would have been able to stick through 10 episodes of this, but I did. I binged it over like about a couple days, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
While it was enjoyable though, and while I love the show, right, I believe that it suffers from what a lot of other shows suffer from these days, and that is forcing down the story with time skips. I'm not a fan of that, right?
Okay.
But I'll tell you why I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan because sometimes when I watch shows, I may doze off and then wake back up. But then some time skips have happened and I have no idea what the hell is going on, right? Also, I find it's lazy writing because you could actually get more for your buck if you were to give me one or half a season of everything that the main subset characters in the show were doing, which is time skipping to the grandparents and the Kurt Russell character, right? Which is also crazy that he's playing himself basically. The son is playing the father in this, right? So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, that is super unique and super cool. But I find you could have done a whole season of just them running through like up until this point, right? But you're giving us like all these great action sequences of things happening with these people, and then giving me boring life after Godzilla kind of stuff, you know? I don't know if you understand exactly what I mean when I use that as my criticism for the show itself, right?
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Yeah. I could understand other people feeling the same way. For me, I didn't mind honestly because the stories were just fascinating. But I think that just from a storytelling perspective, it's always a risk to kind of dedicate an episode to like something that happened in the past, right? There was one episode where I thought they were gonna lean towards that, where it was centered on. By the way, I just love the love triangle that's set up here. That would be between Bill Randa, who's played by Anders Holm, Lee Shaw, who's played by the young the young Lee Shaw, sorry, who's played by Wyatt Russell, and Keiko, right, who's played by Mari Yamamoto, right? Yeah, I was real digging the love triangle stuff, right? And there was one episode that started off. I actually thought it was really nice how it starts off though with Keiko and Lee, right, and how their relationship was building, right. So I honestly thought that the entire episode was gonna be about that, but then they say no. Like about 5-10 minutes afterwards, they say now we're going back to 2015 and we're gonna focus on Kate and May and our current protagonists. So to make a long story short, it's always risky to try to do these time skips, but I felt that they do them reasonably well, right? It's very thematic in terms of how they go back and forth, right? It's not like purposeful or whatnot, but I could understand some people just sort of watching this and like, all right, get to the point. Oh gosh, you give me the 50 stuff, you give me the 2015 stuff, like just make up your mind now.
Yeah, and that you see that's the problem, right? Because you could, I digress, right? You could go back and do like as I said, half season old stuff, and then you could run it up to the 2014 event, and then run it back to like the next event, and then bring everything together, right? But is that a simplistic view of somebody who does not work in television, but somebody who just appreciates it? What do you think about like? Do you think my view on it is too simplistic?
No, I don't think so. But I think, to be honest, it's something that you could get away with television, right? With movies, of course, you cannot do too much of time skipping unless there's a purpose, like unless there's some real reason to it, and unless it all going to add up to one big conclusion or big statement or whatever. Then yeah. But in this case, because we're talking about legacy and just how things from the past are echoed or replicated in the present, that kind of vibe now. And to be fair, the show sets it up very well too, because I have to mention the title sequence for this. I absolutely love it, right? It's one of those things where you see it and you admire it, but I love that, you could go back when you reach the final episode, and you understand the imagery, you understand what's being said here. So basically, it's like a mirror vision, a mirror reflection, sorry, of certain events, so or certain image, right? So you see something from the 50s and it's reflected with something in the 2010s. So you just keep going back and forth. So thematically, that whole time skipping stuff is justified, just off that intro, sorry, that title sequence alone, right? But just to get to the point now, just to repeat what I said. Sorry. Yeah, I think it is just something that the medium of television could get away with, right? But again, I just know some people would just sort of tune out of the past stuff and be more invested in the present stuff. But I, for some reason, found myself invested in both. To be honest, I can't really say which one was better, but yeah, I was intrigued by everything that was seen here.
So you see, maybe I should have given that a little bit more of a chance, but because of my disdain for that type of stuff, it affected my viewing experience, I should say. That's the best way to describe what I'm trying to say, right? But overall, to me, the show was amazing. But I just would have preferred if you dealt with it in portions, I guess, But that's, like I said, that's just a preference thing. Doesn't really affect the quality of the actual show. I do like that they bring back a lot of, well, I want to say callbacks. Is that the right term?
Yeah, callbacks. That's what you call them.
I believe that callbacks are classy, and they make sense, right? And it was done well. All that stuff with character who was going to see about her dad's death and then discovering her dad's second family, which apparently, would you believe this, was something that was common in actual life at that time. It's not like it wasn't uncommon for that to be natural practice, for a scientist that went away for so long, that there is a possibility that they have a second family, basically, right? And that was just a accepted norm. But imagine meeting the second family because your dad died. That is the reason you'll meet. But character building was fine. I think the revelation of the the planet, the other Earth.
Or Deep Earth.
Deep Earth, yes. Deep Earth. The revelation that time doesn't work the same there, which could account for a certain character being younger than you'd really expect.
We're not gonna say who, because we want to keep things spoiler free here.
Yeah, those who have eyes will see. Easy. But yeah, all in all, I would say that if you never seen the Godzilla stuff, let's say you're not a fan of Godzilla and you've never watched Godzilla ever, would you start with Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, or would you start with Skull Island and then watch it chronologically? How would you do that?
I would say watch it chronologically. I think you should start off with Kong Skull Island, or if you just want to see them in terms of when the movies are released, then yeah, obviously start with the 2014 Godzilla. But yeah, I think that those two films, that's Kong and the first Godzilla, they are complemented very well in this film here, right? I would say you have to watch those two before going into this one here, especially the way how this particular season ends. Is like, all right, okay, yeah, you kind of have to watch those shows for that moment to make a lot of sense, right? But I was about to say too, well, as we wrapping things up here, yeah, I really dug the characterization in it. The acting I thought was great across the board. Everybody did what they had to do. And I like the fact that, even though this is a streaming series, you still got that big screen goodness. So no, they didn't spend a lot of money, even though you would see the creatures here or there, right? So you won't see lots of Godzilla, you won't see lots of the other kaiju, but when they're there, they look very great, right? I really, well, I should say the VFX was amazing for the budget given to it, right? So yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not as glossy as what you'd expect from a MonsterVerse feature film, right? But for a TV show, it actually works, man. And I should mention too, I really really like the other kaiju. Well, the Imagine kaiju that were brought into this, right? I say Imagine because we're not like doing like how with the Godzilla sequel film, King of the Monsters. Where we were seeing classic creatures like Rodan and Mothra and whatnot. They don't do that here, but you see other creatures here, and I like that they are how in terms of the creature design, which I love by the way. I like how specific they are to the environment. So there's one, for example, that's in the Arctic that uses ice to attack its victims. As all I'll say. There's one that's in there's one that's in a forest, and just light spoiler, just the design of it alone was amazing to me because like you're seeing like when you see it for the first time, it looks like there's a bunch of tusks or just bone, like carved bone sticking out of it, but it looks more like tree barks. It looks like tree barks that are sticking out of this creature, and when you see it like hiding amongst the trees now, it's like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense now. So there's a lot of care and effort put into telling the story. They don't make it all too confusing and whatnot, especially with the time skips. And it's serious enough for you to care about the characters and the situations and all that kind of stuff, but it's not too bogged down by a set of logic and oh my god, we should really take this seriously. No, like it's kind of weird, goofy stuff at the end of the day. I don't mean that as an insult, right? So don't go in overthinking everything and ask yourself, how deep Earth works like this and how these creatures survive and how they were born. That's not the point of the show. It's just really about the human beings and yeah, how they realistically, for lack of a better term, react to stuff like this, right? So I like that. That's what this show is about. So I would say, yeah, if you never cared for the humans, or if you're always looking for a reason to care about the humans at all in this MonsterVerse universe, yeah, watch this. This will genuinely make you care. I don't know if you have any last words, and then we could get to rating.
Yeah, sure. What are my last words for this one? Watch it, because why not? What else you're watching?
Yeah, well, what else you're watching, man? I mean, it done, so watch all 10 episodes.
Yeah, so watch this.
Yeah, I mean, there are other shows out there, but this one deserves your attention. I think just going back to what you said earlier, I think that just a lot of people need to catch up to it. Like it's not a show that kind of catch people's eyes as yet, but trust me, people will realize that it exists and they will catch on eventually.
Yeah, but we have to
Hopefully,
spread the
they'll
word
appreciate
because
it and
we
more.
watch season 2, and if not enough people watching, no season 2. You know how this thing does go. These guys drastic with
Yeah,
the money. You know what I mean? But yeah,
but
also
but to be fair, there is Godzilla X Kong that's coming out later. I think it's in March. I think so. Yeah, you have time, man. Like I'm not saying watch it before that movie, but at least people's attention should be drawn towards this, this show here before going into Godzilla X Kong anyway, right? So that's that. But yeah, for me, rating wise with this, I'm giving this a decent 4 out of 5, man. It's worth checking out. Just everything about it is solid business for the most part, man. Unless you just genuinely don't care about the MonsterVerse or the kaiju stuff or just kaiju movies in general, yeah, this won't do anything for you, right? But if you've enjoyed them just for the sensationalism of them, then you'll at least appreciate this one for being like, all right, these little humans as we talking all this stuff and we need to save Godzilla and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, this show that will make you care about them and you'll understand why, right? And even in particular, last point I'll make, even how the military responds to is very logical as well too, right? They're not just bad guys for the sake of being bad guys, but like the decisions they make, especially with the creation of Monarch in the first place, makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, it's worth checking out, man.
I mean, obviously scientists will be scientists and they vex, but whatever, yes.
Yeah, it's like that. All right, so what's your rating?
Yo, 10 out of 10 would recommend. If you don't pay attention, it's gonna feel like you're watching gibberish, right? If you have a
For
good
real, yeah.
attention span, unlike me, you should be fine. But oh, yo, honestly, my attention span is poor as all hell. Yeah, there you go.
That explains it.
Yeah, and I have no patience to extra added bonus on that. You know, so yeah.
Right. But yeah, I didn't think you would have loved the show so much despite the time skips.
Yeah, because I mean, the show is still a good show when you look at it. I mean, an annoying thing is just an annoying thing, right?
Yeah. All right. I understand.
Agreed? Yeah, an annoying thing is just an annoying thing because sometimes I find like little kid actors are annoying in shows and I don't like to watch them in shows.
I
Yeah.
don't think there was really any here to worry about this.
No. There's nothing like that to
Yeah.
worry about here. So, you know, safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, but yeah, as we said, Monarch Legacy of Monsters is a real deal. It's on Apple TV right now, so yeah, give it a look, man. And if you want to check it out before watching Godzilla X Kong, and if you want to, you could recap the previous films and see how they all relate to this series here, man. But yeah, season 2 definitely can't wait, man.